Salam, Brother Munawar. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. So let me just share the link with the community and then we can start. So give me 1 minute.
I'll be setting Al Shams and Al Layl 91 and 92.
Okay, all right. Thank you. All right, whenever you're ready.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها قد أفلح من زكاها وقد خاب من دساها كذبت ثمود بتغواها إذ انبعث أشقاها فقال له رسول الله ناقة الله وسقياها فكذبوه فعقروها فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسوى ولا يخاف عقباها بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والليل إذا يغشاه والنهار إذا تجلى وما خلق الذكر والأنثى إن سعيكم لشتى فأما من أعطى واتقى وصدق بالحسنى فسنيسره لليسرى وأما من بخل واستغنى وكذب بالحسنى فسنيسره للعسرى وما يغني عنه ماله إذا تردى إن علينا للهدى وإنا لنا للآخرة والأولى فأنذرتكم نارا تلظى لا يصلاها إلا الأشقى الذي كذب وتولى وسيج وسيجنبها الأتقى الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى إلا ابتغاء وجه ربه الأعلى ولسوف يرضى صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Thank you so much, Brother Munawar. Inshallah, we'll be going forward with our program tonight, and we will be having a lecture by Sheikh Abbas Ismail from England. So, before we move on to that, I just want to invite Brother Ali Asghar for Urdu poetry. Brother Ali, whenever you're ready.
بل محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa
سنائی کس نے یہ زنداں میں لوری سکینہ سو رہی ہے خدا را زور سے بولے نہ کوئی سکینہ سو رہی ہے کہا بانوں نے یہ اٹھو شہزادی ہوئی کیا بات جو مادر سے روٹھی اٹھو بابا کا سر آیا ہے بی بی اٹھو بابا کا سر آیا ہے بی بی مگر زنداں کی ہے دیوار بولی سکینہ سو رہی ہے تمہارے گوشوارے مل گئے ہیں در زندان سارے کھل گئے ہیں رہائی مل گئی جاتی ہوں گھر کو رہائی مل گئی جاتی ہوں گھر کو مگر سجاد کی آواز آئی سکینہ سو رہی ہے ناب مارے گا کوئی بھی تماچے نہ ہوں گے پھر سے یہ رخسار نیلے گلا باندھا نہ جائے گا رسن میں گلا باندھا نہ جائے گا رسن میں جو آیا شمر تو اس سے کہوں گی سکینہ سو رہی ہے ردا چھوٹی سی ایک سر پر اڑا دوں چلو عباس سے تم کو ملا دوں تمہاری مشق ہے اور ان کا سینہ تمہاری مشق ہے اور ان کا سینہ جو دیکھے آسمان کہتا ہے وہ بھی سکینہ سو رہی ہے رسن کا زخم اشکوں سے دھلا دوں تیرے بالوں سے یہ مٹی چھڑا دوں تیرے تلووں کے چھالوں کی دوا دوں تیرے تلووں کے چھالوں کی دوا دوں اجل بولی کہ یہ کیسے چلے گی سکینہ سو رہی ہے ادب کی جا ہے یہ ریحان دیکھو بلند آواز سے ہرگز نہ بولو یہاں تو فاتحہ بھی دھیرے پڑھنا یہاں تو فاتحہ بھی دھیرے پڑھنا یہاں آواز ہو جائے نہ اونچی سکینہ سو رہی ہے سنائی کس نے یہ زنداں میں لوری سکینہ سو رہی ہے اور محمد وعلی محمد صلی اللہ
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Thank you so much, Brother Ali. Now we will move to the lecture part of the program. So inshallah, please recite aloud salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad.
خاتم النبيين شفيع المذنبين رحمة للعالمين مولانا وسيدنا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على
Allahumma salli ala
محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين المذلومين الهداة المهديين
Muhammad.
لا سيما بقية الله في الأرض أرواحنا له الفداء ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في قرآنه المجيد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم حتى إذا جاء أحدهم الموت قال رب ارجعوني لعلي أعمل صالحا فيما تركت كلا إنها كلمة هو قائلها ومن ورائهم برزخ إلى يوم يبعثون. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Respected elders, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In our tonight's lecture, in this series of 5 lectures regarding the events of death and barzakh, we were discussing that death in Islam is when the soul and body decouple, and there is sometimes a stubbornness and a rigidity in how much the soul needs to be wrought from the body, and this is all determined by the amount of attachment we have with this world. A person who has lived his life in a very materialistic manner, in a very worldly way, he has lots of attachments to this world, he loves this world, then the soul will be more determined to remain. Therefore it has to be sometimes even violently pulled out of the body. And some people, they live a very godly life without attachments, without worldliness. Their souls will exit the body in relative ease and comfort. So we have different experiences of the same event. Death will be different according to the way you have lived your life. It will be different for different people. We then discussed that once your soul is out of the body and has entered into barzakh, it then requires a new body, because now it's a new world, so this physical body will no longer be applicable. The physical body remains behind, and instead you are inserted into a new body, and this is called the barzakhi body. And then the people, when they adjust to the barzakhi body, they will be in 3 groups, broadly speaking. We have the middle group, where we feel the majority of people are. Then we have the extreme corrupt individuals, and we have the extreme purified, pure, enlightened, non-worldly individuals. And yesterday we discussed the middle group and the very pure group. The middle group itself has degrees. They're not all the same. Some will have relative ease in terms of adjustment to the barzakhi body. Why is that? It's because in this world, in this life, they were used to spirituality, angelic things, the company of angels, du'as, ibadat, worship, supplication, and therefore for them to adjust to the barzakhi body will be quicker. And then those people who didn't like advice, didn't like to hear about things, they were stubborn, they were obstinate, well, for them it'll be more difficult to adjust to the barzakhi body. We discussed the pure individuals. These are people who are completely empty of pride and conceit, and they are filled instead with the love of Allah. They have no interest in this world. For them, to leave the world is the best thing that they can imagine. Their attachment with the angels and the angelic world, the world of spirituality, is very strong. Hence for them, it could be that even while they are alive, they have already activated certain aspects of their barzakhi body, and they can see into barzakh, and they can experience some of that barzakhi pleasure, and they can see even the pains of barzakh. So for them it will be very quick. They will adjust very quickly. Today's discussion is going to start with the 3rd group, the other end of the spectrum, the corrupt individuals. Now their experience is a very sad one. Their experience is a very sour one, because here you have a group of individuals who have very polluted souls. They have vices. They never dealt with these vices. They have lots of issues, spiritual issues, akhlaqi issues, ethical issues. They never invested time into understanding Islam, understanding the beliefs of Islam, the philosophies of Islam. They never spent time in acting upon these beliefs and philosophies. They didn't put sufficient effort into ibadat, worship, obeying God. So they had a lot of defiance against God. They would oppress other people. They would oppress themselves, because when we sin, in reality we are doing nothing other than oppressing ourselves. Hence, for example, in Dua Kumel, Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salam teaches us to say, Dhalamtu nafsi. I have done zulm upon myself. In what way? In the sense that I've performed sins. Therefore, these sins and these issues are nothing other than self-abuse and zulm and injustice upon the self. So they oppressed others, they oppressed their duties towards God, and in this way they oppress themselves. They are going to have a tough time. What is their characteristic? Well, when they are transported, when they are transferred from this world into the life hereafter, they hate death. They hate the notion of death. They hate thinking about death. They hate contemplating death. They hate death. They hate the angel of death. The angel of death is nothing more than a mercy of God to transport us, to help us decouple from body and enter into barzakh, which is meant to be a much better phase of life. But they don't like that. They are rooted in this world. They are too invested in this world. They have too many attachments in this world. Their wealth, their possession, their family, all of these things are worldly in one sense. They are too attached. Therefore, they don't want to leave. So they hate death. They hate the angel of death. They hate the other angels which come and try to teach this person how to adjust into the barzakhi body. And the sad thing is that the angels also hate being in the presence of this person. This person is seen as polluted. This pollution which we carry in our hearts, in our souls, will be transferred with our souls into the hereafter. Therefore, they are seen as dirty, filthy, polluted people. The angels also don't like to be with them, but the angels try to get through to them. But it's not surprising that they will just send away the angels. They will tell them, go away, leave me alone, don't advise me, I don't want to hear these things. Maybe they think they can go back into the world, but of course that door is now closed. So for them, death is a great fear. And once it hits them that we are now dead, the door is closed, we cannot go back into life. The life that we had is now finished. Now it's a new life with a new world and a new set of rules. Then they will feel intense remorse and regret. Regarding these people, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has said, every moment of the process of dying will be as agonizing as 100 fatal strikes of a sword. So they are going to have a lot of discomfort and pain at the time of death. So now they are in barzakh. Well, they can't understand the instructions of the angels. They see the angels as nuisances, as annoying. They can't, their nature is not compatible with the nature of the angels. The nature of the angels is servants of God, pure. But these people, they cannot make that connection with the angels. They don't like the angels, so they can't understand the instructions of the angels. They can't understand this new world. Why? Because they never spend time thinking about it. They never spend time in contemplating death and the hereafter and the spirituality that is required over there. Everything seems to despise them because they have brought filth and pollution, and their nature is such that they cannot adjust. So everything seems to despise them. They desperately will want to return back to dunya, back to this world. But the angels will not allow them. They will be hit by the angels because there's no other way to stop them. They're so stubborn and obstinate. They think that because they were powerful in the world, they are powerful in barzakh as well. It doesn't work like that. So they may be hit by angels. They will pull him back. They will prevent him or her from trying to access the world because that door is now closed. And then there comes a point of realization. Then this person will now start to understand that actually, yes, I'm a corrupted individual. My personality is wrong. My nature is wrong. My deeds have come with me. Now, that is a very sad state of affairs, isn't it? It's better in this world that we come to that realization so that we change. And Allah gives us many opportunities. All these difficulties and tests and these things that come upon us, these are nothing other than opportunities for us to take stock and to change. But if we don't change here, we will be forced to realize what we are over there. So he now hates his own personality, and in fact he will feel nauseated by his own self. And then it is very late, but he will be filled with sorrow and regret. Holy personalities will appear. He may see Rasulullah, he may see Amirul Mu'mineen, he may see the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. But seeing them only increases his distress and sorrow, because their nature is not compatible with his. He has brought with him his shakila, his spiritual personality, and now he cannot bear the good things of that world. So what will be the biggest regret of people? In both the middle group and the corrupt group, what will be their biggest regret? Their biggest regret in both of these situations will be that why did we not repent? Why did we not turn to God to forgive us? Why did we not discharge our lapsed prayers? Why did we not recite our qaza namaz? Why did we not give more charity? Allah gave us a lot. We could have given more to people. Why did we not do that? Regret. Why, when I had the opportunity to help people, did I not help them? Regret. So these things will dawn upon the person, and now he will realize how important these things were, but it's too late. He ideally wishes that he could go back into the world, even for a few days, just to do things differently, just to make amends, just to maybe patch up with people, just to leave behind petty squabbles and fights with people. But alas, it is too late. He cannot go back. He wants to go back and do things differently, but he cannot. So now all he has in front of him is a long journey in a land of misery. Quran says, وَأَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ, spend from what we have given you, مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يَأْتِيَ أَحَدَكُمُ الْمَوْتِ, before death comes to you. فَيَقُولُ, because if that happens you will say, رَبِّ لَوْلَا أَخَّرْتَنِي إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ قَرِيبٍ, my Lord, if only you could give me a little bit more time, فَأَصَّدَّقَ, so that I can pay charity, وَأَكُمْ مِنَ الصَّالِحِينَ, that I can be from amongst the righteous ones. Give me a bit more time. I promise I will do these things. But the answer from Allah in Surah Munafiqun is what? وَلَنْ يُؤَخِّرَ اللَّهُ نَفْسًا إِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهَا, never will Allah grant any delay to any soul when its time has come. There's no chance that you can plead at that moment of death and say, oh Allah, give me a bit more time. The moment of death comes and then you are bound to it. Wallahu khabirun bima ta'malun. Indeed, Allah is aware, fully aware of what you do. Hence, the advice of Rasulullah again and again, advice of Ahlul Bayt again and again. Think about your deeds. Know at all times that someone is watching you. Know at all times that one day you will have to appear in his grand court on the Day of Judgment, and you will have to answer for everything, and you will be questioned, and account will be taken from you. Now, this is what we have discussed so far, is this adjustment into barzakh. But now let's discuss a little bit more about barzakh itself. What will it be like? How will it be? Here we have some interesting information. So once a person is into the barzakhi body, he will see or she will see their worldly body, this physical body of 2 arms and 2 legs, is lifeless. Their soul has now exited. The decoupling has taken place. The connection is severed. They see now this physical body lying in front of them. It is lifeless. It doesn't move. They cannot control it anymore. This is both scary and fascinating. It's scary in one way because this body is all we have ever known until the point of death. We've only ever known this body. So it's very scary now that we are looking upon it, but it's not moving. We are trying to speak, but the mouth is closed. We are trying to get up and walk, but it's lifeless. And it's fascinating because now you're in a new world with a new set of experiences. This new body that we have in Barzakh, it is somehow lighter. It's more sensitive. It can do more things, if you like. It is much more mobile in that sense. It is not made of flesh and bones, but it can still hear and see, but now it sees even more than it did before. It now sees things that were previously unknown. Because now the body is in Barzakh, the eyes are fully open, the ears are fully open. He can see and perceive things that were always there, but he was oblivious because he was completely attached to his physical self and didn't spend enough time investing in his spiritual self. However, because of that strong bond with the body, okay, that I mentioned, because this body is the only thing we've ever known, because of that strong bond, there is an empathy with the body. Hence, most souls, from what we understand, they will remain around that physical body. Many people ask that when we wash the body, we put kafan on the body, we do the ghusl of the body, all of these things, why is there an advice to be very gentle and very careful with the body? Because the body is now lifeless, the soul has come out. So why do we have to be so careful? We have to be careful, the advice is to be very careful and gentle, because the soul seeing the body, it is a kind of trauma on the soul when the body is mishandled. The body is thrown around. If the body is mishandled, mistreated, this will cause a kind of traumatic experience on the soul, because it is still it still has affinity with the body. Okay, it still has that kind of attachment. But this soul can now see the ghusl taking place, the kafan being put on, the burial process. It can see everything, and hence it remains with the body through these processes, because it doesn't know where else to go. It is so closely attached with the body, it has lived in the body for so long, now it doesn't know where else to go, so it kind of stays with the body, around the body. The burial itself is something that will be one of the most difficult things for this soul in Barzakh to witness, because it is following the body. It sees the grave. It knows its destination. It sees that this is a hole in the ground that is cold and dark and dirty, but it knows it's going there. Hence there is a feeling of fear and dread. It feels still that it is one with the body. It hasn't maybe made that shift, that mental shift that was required to accept the fact that it is now in Barzakh. It's very difficult, it's very traumatic. Imagine, we can't even imagine how it would seem to exit our body and go into a new world. So when it happens, for sure, if we cannot even imagine it, then really it's going to be quite traumatic. So it sees the grave, it sees the people, it sees the process, it sees the burial. This fills the soul with fear and dread. When the body is lowered, it feels scared. It follows the body. When the soil and the mud is put on top of the coffin or the body, and the burial takes place, it feels cramped and squeezed and dark and cold, because this is where the body is, and it's with the body at the moment. It doesn't know where else to go. So it feels as if it's being buried alive itself. Although this is not physical, but it feels these things. Hence we have this notion of the choking and crushing experience during burial. Okay? And we have this concept as well that has been mentioned in hadith regarding fishar of qabr, fishar-e-qabr, the pressure, the squeezing of the grave. Now, is that a physical squeezing? Is that something that, defies the laws of physics that we can't see, but underground somehow the walls of the grave are coming in and crushing this body? Does it crush our bones? Does it break the coffin? Is that what happens? That's not our understanding. Our understanding is that these things are happening not in a physical sense, but they're happening in a barzakhi sense. So the barzakhi individual now, in his new barzakhi body, is feeling these things, although not physical. So he feels choking, crushing, and squeezing fishar. Imam Jafar as-Sadiq alayhi salam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, he says, there is no believer who will not experience the squeezing of the grave. So most people are going to go through this. Most believers will go through this. They'll go through this process. Okay? Now, what is this squeezing all about? Why this fishar? Why does Allah put us through this? Well, for believers, it is a great blessing of God. Although uncomfortable, it is a blessing of Allah. How? Because it acts as a purification from any pollution that they have. You'll see as we discuss today and tomorrow that the more difficulties that Allah puts us through is actually part of His mercy, in that He's trying to purify us more and more from any sins we have, so that we don't get to the day of judgment still with more sins and we are unable to enter heaven. So the squeezing acts as a purification from pollution for believers. But what about the other group? What about the group that was extremely corrupted? Well, for that group, the squeezing does nothing more than just give them excruciating pain and suffering. They will not be dealt with in the same way, in the sense that the squeezing becomes a forgiveness for them. And we'll discuss why that is in a moment. After the burial is done, the burial process itself will be very traumatic. After the burial process is done, we have the wahshat of the grave. Now you know that when someone dies, usually there's an announcement made, so-and-so, son of so-and-so has died. Please remember him tonight with namaz-e-wahshat. Namaz-e-wahshat is what? It's a prayer for the deceased on the first night of their time in the grave. Wahshat is like terror. It's like trauma. They will experience very traumatic time at this time. And one of those traumas is the loneliness of the grave. So now they are in this grave. It is dark, it is cold, it is dirty. They will experience a deep sense of isolation and loneliness. He was a family man. Now the family is not there. He had lots of friends. The friends are not there. Where are all the community members? They have gone away. Put him in the grave, bury him, recite your Surah Fatiha, your Surah Qadr, etc., etc. Everyone goes away. Now he's alone. So he has a deep sense of isolation and loneliness. He doesn't know, how long will I remain trapped here? How long am I going to be in this place? He doesn't know what is going to happen next, because he didn't spend enough time thinking and contemplating and finding out about these things. So he doesn't know what will happen next. He's in trauma, he's in shock. Here we have a beautiful thing. Here there will be two experiences. One group will remain in despair and dread and worry and anxiety. Another group will have a glimmer of hope. What is the criteria to be in one group or the other? Trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So those who lived their lives in this world with a strong trust in Allah, with a strong amount of faith and hope in Allah, which we should all have all the time, they at that point will say to themselves, no, my Lord has not left me. My Lord has mercy on me. He is a merciful Lord. He has not left me. He is going to attend to me. He will take care of me. So they will have a glimmer of hope because the trust and faith in Allah that they had in the world has gone with them into barzakh. It's part of their soul, it's part of their nature. So they will have a glimmer of hope. However, the other group is the group that never trusted Allah, didn't spend time building a strong connection with Allah, didn't spend time thinking about the mercy, forgiveness and hope of Allah. And they were the ones with ingratitude and faithlessness. What will they face? Will they have hope? No. They will have dread because they have no idea. They did not take these qualities with them, hence they will feel dread, despair, despondency. Now, after these few events, we have the narrations relating to the activation of what I call the spiritual memory. Okay? Now what happens is, as we go through life, we do different things. We have different experiences. We do different deeds. On a daily basis, we do hundreds, if not thousands of different things. All of these experiences, all of these thoughts, attitudes, beliefs, actions, words, all of these different things that we have done in the world, they have been etched. They have been etched into what we call spiritual memory. That spiritual memory of that person needs to be activated. And how is that done? This is done again with the help of an angel of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So an angel comes, and this is a specific angel that we have a mention of. This angel is known as the angel Roman. Roman, the reminder, because he reminds us of what we have done. When Roman enters the grave, that vigil of loneliness and dread comes to an end. When Roman enters, the grave is transformed. The grave expands. Again, we're not talking about physical expansion necessarily. We're talking about more metaphorical. Because now we're in barzakh, so those physical laws don't apply in the same way. The grave expands. The grave, with the entry of Roman, the reminder, becomes dazzlingly bright. Roman enters. It is said that he is extremely handsome, but yet imposing. Some, on seeing Roman, will feel very scared. Why? Same point. They didn't have an attachment to spiritual things, spirituality, angels. They will be very scared. Others will see him and they will feel hope because they had invested into this area of spirituality, angels, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So some will be scared, others will be hopeful. Roman is a splendid angel. It's very difficult to describe. The arrival of Roman into the grave has confirmed one thing. It confirms that Allah has not forgotten this person. So those who had hope in Allah will feel relieved. They will say, yes, this is the result of our faith and trust in Allah. He has not forgotten us. And then Roman begins to speak. Now here, it's very interesting. We should just quickly discuss language in the hereafter. Which language will be spoken? Is it going to be Farsi, English, Arabic, German, French? Which language will be spoken? Well, from what we understand, there's only one language in the hereafter, and that will be the language of the soul. And when we talk about language of the soul, we're not talking about words, because words are needed in this world. See, it takes a lot of words for us to describe something, right? We have to go on and on. We want to write a book on a deep subject, it could go into multiple volumes. So we need words in this world. However, when the soul communicates, it's not with words, it's with concepts. concepts are transferred. So this means that there can be masses of information that is conveyed between souls and angels in that world, whereas that same information in this world would have required volumes and volumes of writing and speech. But in that world, it's very quick and easy. These are the language of concepts. Now, another point which is very interesting. Although the language of that world is instinctive, okay? Although the language is instinctive, surprisingly, there will be many people who are deaf and dumb. More than people in this world are deaf and dumb. Here we have deaf and dumb, okay? Through, obviously bodily defects or accidents. Through no fault of their own, people are deaf, dumb, or both. But we have few. In that world, there'll be many more than this world. Now, why is that? This is because they had thoughts and beliefs in this world which were contrary to truth and haqq. So these beliefs and thoughts which they had, and now they've taken them into barzakh, they are not true, they are not haqq, they are batil, they are false. So over there, when they try to communicate, they cannot. Because in that world, only truth can be communicated. There's no space for nonsense or wrong things. So in that sense, they'll be deaf and dumb. They don't know how to communicate. They can't. Because their souls are so full of falsehoods and wrong things, they will be the equivalent of deaf and dumb in that world. So when they try to speak, when they try to communicate in whatever form that communication is, people, the angels and the people of that world will say, this is just a lunatic speaking senseless things. We cannot understand a word he's saying. This is why Quran says, وَمَنْ كَانَ فِي هَذِهِ أَعْمَى فَهُوَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ أَعْمَى وَأَضَلُّ سَبِيلًا. Whoever in this world is blind, in the hereafter also he will be blind, and he will be even more misguided. Blind does not mean physically blind, does not mean the blindness of the eyes. It means blindness of the heart. Here you are blind to the truth, there you will be blind to the truth. Here you are full of falsehood, there also you will be full of falsehood. Inshallah, we will discuss more tomorrow. In tomorrow's lecture, we will continue this episode of Roman. What he says to the person, how he communicates, what he makes the person do, how the spiritual memory is activated. And then also we will discuss the questioning of the grave and the different angels which come and ask questions in the grave, inshallah, if Allah gives us tawfiq. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Azadaran of Imam Hussein, mourners of Abu Abdullah, these are the days of Arba'een. We pay salutations to our Imam, Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah, and to all of the Ahlul Bayt who were taken on that painful journey from Karbala to Kufa, Kufa to Sham, back to Karbala, then onward to Medina. Very difficult time they went through. Yesterday I recited for you the Masa'ib of Imam Sajjad alayhi salam, when he buried the martyrs in Karbala. But this was just one aspect of Imam Zainul Abidin's difficult journey after Ashura. Imam was asked, tell me about the events of Sham-e Ghariba. The evening after the day of Ashura, what happened? How were you all chased from tent to tent? How were the ladies and children running around? Imam had a tasbih in his hand. He said, look at this tasbih. If I break this tasbih, if I break the thread, what will happen? The beads will fly away. They'll go all around the place. Imam Zainul Abidin answers the question and says, the way the beads of the tasbih will fly and go chaotically everywhere, this is how the ladies of my household were running hither and there, everywhere. It was chaos, it was panic, it was terror, it was the most scary and fearful time. That was Sham-e Ghariba. Oh Imam, then you had to experience Kufa, the humiliation of Kufa, people throwing things upon you. They say some people were even throwing hot boiling water upon Ahlul Bayt. People hitting them with stones and all sorts of things. Then Imam, you had to spend time in Kufa before being taken all the way to Sham. On the road, how many things happened? Imam was tied, he was bound, he was shackled and chained, he would be hit regularly. There was not a moment of peace for the Imam. Oh Imam, which was the worst? Was it Karbala? Was it Kufa? Was it the journey? He says, no. Asham, Asham, Asham. The worst of all of them by far was our time in Sham. On the day that the caravan of Imam Hussein alayhi salam enters into Damascus, into Sham, they say Yazid had done some very special preparations for Ahlul Bayt. He wanted to humiliate Ahlul Bayt as much as he could. What does he do? He makes it like a public holiday. He makes it like celebrations and felicitations and so much merrymaking that we have brought a group which dared to rebel against the ruler of the time. Look how we have brought them. We have brought them chained and shackled and humiliated into your midst. In this gathering, as Imam Zainul Abidin's caravan is entering into Sham, we have a report by one of the companions of Rasulullah. He happened to be in Sham on that day, and when he saw the scene of Sham, when he saw all the celebrations, all the decorations, all the laughter, all the merrymaking, he stopped someone and he said, tell me, oh brother, is this some kind of holiday which I do not know about? Do you people in Sham have this kind of holiday during this time? That you have a special holiday or something? What is going on here? He is told, no, there's no such holiday. But the ruler Yazid has brought in a group of people and they are to be humiliated and they will appear before him, and this is why we are making joy and laughter on this occasion. This person's name was Sahal bin Sa'ad, one of the sincere companions of Rasulullah. When he looked towards the caravan of Imam Sajjad, his eyes fell upon Imam Sajjad. He looked at the face of Imam Zainul Abidin. He says, I know this man. This is none other than Ali ibn al-Hussein. How have you brought him? He went over to Imam and he has a conversation with Imam. He says, oh Imam Zainul Abidin, do you know me? I am Sahal bin Sa'ad. I am one of the companions of your grandfather. Look at the way they have treated you. Look at what they have done to you. Imam looks at Sahal and says, oh Sahal, now that you have recognized me and you are one of the companions of my grandfather, Sahal, will you do one thing for me? He says, Mawla, anything, tell me, what can I do for you? He says, Sahal, go and if you can, get me a cloth, some kind of cloth or clothing, bring it for me. Sahal went over to somewhere, he managed to get a piece of cloth, he brought it back to Imam. Sahal says that when I gave the cloth to Imam, I thought maybe he will wrap it around himself. Maybe he's feeling cold and vulnerable in his state that he was. But instead, what does Imam do? Imam takes that cloth and says, thank you, Sahal. And Imam lifts the cloth, he makes it into a bunch. He lifts the cloth and he places it in between the collar of iron which is around his neck and the skin of his neck. He says, oh Sahal, this collar has been upon me since the time we left Karbala. This collar has been on my neck. This collar of iron has been eating into my skin. I put this cloth here to relieve the pain that I am feeling, to give some small relief to me during this difficult journey that we are having. Allah la'natullah al-qawm al-zalimin wa sayalamu alladhina zalamu ayya munqalibin yanqalibun. Oh Allah, we pray to you with the haqq of Imam Zainul Abidin, with the haqq of the Usara of Karbala, with the haqq of Bibi Zainab, with the haqq of Aba Abdullah. Oh Allah, forgive us our sins. Oh Allah, make us prepared for our death. Oh Allah, hasten the appearance of our 12th Imam. Oh Allah, make Imam happy with us. Oh Allah, forgive us and forgive our marhumeen. Oh Allah, protect us always. Oh Allah, give us unity, give us cohesion, give us true understanding of Islam according to the teachings of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Matame Hussain.
ای برادر خواهرت زینب رسیده، رفته و برگشته اما قد خمیده. ای برادر خواهرت زینب رسیده، رفته و برگشته اما قد خمیده. نور دیده سر بریده، نور دیده سر بریده. خسته از لاغ فتادم تا رسیدم، قتلگه آمد به یادم تا رسیدم. یاد روزی که از اینجا رفته بودم، آنچنان گویی ز دنیا رفته بودم. شد لبالب صبر زینب، کربلا شد قبر زینب. ای برادر خواهرت زینب رسیده، رفته و برگشته اما قد خمیده. نور دیده سر بریده، نور دیده سر بریده. گم شدم در شوره زار خسته ناباوری ها، خاطرات خیمه ها، سجاده ها، آباوری ها. تیغ و رگ های جوشان، ناله طفلان عطشان، زجه های کودکان، زنجیرها بی مجری ها. آتش و خون دشت گلگون، آتش و خون دشت گلگون. ای برادر خواهرت زینب رسیده، رفته و برگشته اما قد خمیده. ای برادر خواهرت زینب رسیده، رفته و برگشته اما قد خمیده. نور دیده سر بریده، نور دیده سر بریده. بر مزار خاکیت سر میگذارم، قبر تو شویم به اشک چشم تارم. بی کفن ماندی مگر خواهر نداری، ماه من انگشت و انگشتر نداری. جامه‌ای در بر نداری، سرور من سر نداری. ای برادر خواهرت زینب رسیده، رفته و برگشته اما قد خمیده، نور دیده سر بریده، نور دیده سر بریده. بسته بود از نیزه ات نوری به بند دست و پایم، میکشیدی از پی خود تا به دنبالت بیایم. خسته اما زنده بودم تا شب مرگ 3 ساله، مردم اما پیکری هستم که می لرزد صدایم. دل کبابه از خرابه، دل کبابه از خرابه، ای برادر خواهرت زینب رسیده، رفته و برگشته اما قد خمیده. ای برادر خواهرت زینب رسیده، رفته و برگشته اما قد خمیده، نور دیده سر بریده، نور دیده سر بریده. بوی موجی تشنه آید بر مشامم، میروم دنبال کار ناتمامم، مانده ام در حسرت آنچه ندیدم. پس کجایی ای علمدار رشیدم، آمدم من در بر تو تا ببینم پیکر تو. ای برادر خواهرت زینب رسیده، رفته و برگشته اما قد خمیده. ای برادر خواهرت زینب رسیده، رفته و برگشته اما قد خمیده، نور دیده سر بریده، نور دیده سر بریده. ای پناه بی پناهان آمدم برخیز و بنگر، از چه اکنون هم غریبی میکنی با من برادر. آرزویت را به گورت برده ای حسرت کشیدم، تا توانم در جواب تو بگویم جان خواهر، جان خواهر یا سپر، جان خواهر یا سپر. ای برادر خواهرت زینب رسیده، رفته و برگشته اما قد خمیده، نور دیده سر بریده، نور دیده سر بریده. صلوات سیاه. صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله يا خير خلق الله. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين يا علي بن أبي طالب. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي المجتبى. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار. ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وعلى العقيلة زينب وعلى أبا الفضل العباس أخي الحسين. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين يا زين العابدين. السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الباقر. السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر. السلام عليك يا جعفر بن محمد الصادق. السلام عليك يا موسى بن جعفر الكافر. السلام عليك يا قريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء. السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس. السلام عليك يا أنيس النفوس. السلام عليك يا مدفون بأرض طوس. راضي بالقدر والقضاء علي بن موسى الرضا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا علي السلام عليك يا محمد بن علي الجواد. السلام عليك يا علي بن محمد الهادي النقي. السلام عليك يا حسن بن علي العسكري. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. الأمان 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 من فتن الزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا إمامي وإمام الإنس والجان. عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك ورحمة الله وبركاته. الفاتحة.